Welcome back to Morning in America. Senators are right now working to try to get new gun legislation into a final version following a proposed bipartisan deal. But there appear to be some complications. Senator John Cornyn, the lead Republican negotiator, says the package may need to be trimmed down in order to pass. And a dispute over sourcing out money to states for red flag laws, if they choose other anti-gun steps, has also been a concern. There's concern about the language about domestic abusers that's too broad in attempts to close the so-called boyfriend loophole. And another big question is how the Senate bill, if passed, will be received in the House. Joining us right now, Illinois Congressman Mike Quigley, Democratic member of the House Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. Thank you so much for being with us. I want to get your thoughts on the framework of this particular legislation and the red flag laws. It seems like a lot of people might believe that it's reasonable to have this system of checks and balances to prevent somebody who has had a questionable or violent history from buying a gun. But what do you say to critics who say that red flag laws could violate due process and actually pose a problem for responsible gun owners?
Sure, but we also know that red flag laws have the potential to stop mass shootings before the perpetrator even gets that law. This Senate measure just provided grants to states to encourage this. So look, we've got to stop somewhere. 75% of all Americans say that gun violence is an extreme problem. I'd like to think that those that were on the fence in the Senate decided to finally do something to end the carnage.
In terms of senators being split, not quite fully in agreement over whether some states should get funding if they have other programs to limit gun violence, but not particularly having red flag laws, do you believe that those states should still get funding?
Oh, I absolutely think they need to get the funding. Look, we've been fighting for years just to get funding for research on gun violence and to begin to treat it as a public health issue. It's frustrating now to watch the Senate again hesitate to do something meaningful to end the carnage. So, in the final analysis, the House has already passed measures like this on a repeated basis. I'd like to think we can do something significant. What stands out in this to me was the fact that there were red law provisions, provisions dealing with gun trafficking, a scourge to cities like Chicago, where I live. But we'll take what we can here, because if a measure saves lives, it's worth pursuing.
I have another question for you, and this one's very interesting. The Senate's plan includes enhanced background checks, including mandatory reviews of gun buyers younger than age 21 based on their juvenile and mental health records. What are your thoughts on that?
80% of Americans support universal background checks. The vast majority of NRA members support universal, not just under 21, background checks. It makes sense that responsible gun owners don't want irresponsible or dangerous people to get guns because of all the violence that comes from that. So it's hard for me to imagine that a simple measure like this can't be agreed upon.
Well, it seems interesting that mental health was politicized a bit during the discussion following the Uvalde and the Buffalo, New York shootings. There were some who would say, Democrats don't want to link mental health to mass shootings. Republicans are leaning too heavily on mental health as a reason or a particular factor in mass shootings. Where do you stand on that?
Look, mental health is a factor in some violent crimes, but to blame it entirely on all the issues is just abdicating the responsibility of addressing the issue on a broader basis. We know that domestic violence is often a precursor to mass shootings. That needs to be included. We know there are other measures that can address this issue. Why can't we ban assault weapons? I'm not afraid to say why that matters. The fact is, the Second Amendment, agreed upon in the Supreme Court, I read that decision. The fact of the matter is, the majority opinion said there's a limit on this, and not every kind of weapon is appropriate. This isn't a weapon designed to protect your home or your business. It's not a weapon designed to hunt deer. It's a weapon designed to hunt people, and it does it all too well.
Congressman Quigley, thank you so much for the conversation and making time for us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.